You're being recorded.
I'm sorry.
You're being recorded. Special Agent Greg Domro from the FBI is going to talk to you right now.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out at this point what's the nature and reason as to why you're blocking his contractor
I was advised last night from corporation president, and I have an attorney's name here. That's all I can do. I can give you our attorney's name.
Well, no. Here's the question, sir. So it's what's the reason other than they don't want him on there? Is there a legal basis to do that? Is there an injunction preventing his contractor from going on there?
That would be, you would have to speak with the attorneys about that. That's all I can tell you.
Well, sir, here's my question, though.
I understand your question.
You're the law enforcement entity on that island, correct?
Yes.
So your job is to enforce the legitimate laws of that community, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so with that in mind, if there's no legal order, how can you prevent him from doing it?
Because I was advised by our corporation president, there's a problem, he needs to talk to the attorney. That's all I can tell you, especially.
Well, no, sir, my question is, have you
I understand your question.
with a legal order?
I've been given an order by my president last night, the corporation president, via the attorney that was involved in this, Mr. Craig Roswell.
Sir, again, I'm asking, have you been presented with a legal order for a cease and desist for his contractors to prevent him from doing this?
Just the verbal order I was given last night. The verbal order I was given last night, sir.
Sir, you as a law enforcement officer, you don't represent the community, you represent law and order, correct? You're not representing the president of the community.
No, I work for both. I work for the corporation.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Are you an independent entity, or do you have a direct reporting line?
I have a direct reporting line to the president of the corporation.
Okay, so in essence, you're
So he dictates what our policy is.
Okay, which then indicates to me that is yours a security firm then, not a police department then?
We are SPOs, Special Police Officers. So we work for the Gibson Corporation.
So you're a security unit then? No. And the reason I'm not understanding. I'm not trying to insult you in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to assess, because a law enforcement entity such as the Anne Arundel County PD, the Baltimore City PD, they're independent entities. They don't report to anyone other than the chief of police. And if you're telling me that you're basically representing the corporation, you are not an independent entity. So basically, Mr. Lucy, with that in mind,
yes.
since he is not a law enforcement entity, it's basically a private security firm representing the corporation.
You're being recorded.
Okay, perfectly fine. Authority of the corporation, you cannot bring that truck in here. Something with his deed, I don't know. I just work here. I'm just going off what they're telling me. Something to do with your deed.
Nothing to do with my deed.
Okay, well that's...
Nothing to do with my deed. It's real simple. In 1925, no Negroes were allowed on this island unless they were servants. It says that. One-story houses. In 2004, they got rid of all the discrimination. That's a residential facility. It's going to be residential. It's residential now. That's what the permit says.
What right do you have to bar him from the property?
The vehicle, not him.
All right, so where's the sign say that no commercial motor vehicles are allowed?
That came from the corporation.
Okay, where are the signs or anything like that? He wants to get to his residence. He's in a car. You have a right to block him to get to his residence.
Well, you can talk to the chief, because I'm just going off of what... I understand what you're saying.
I'm a state police lieutenant. I'm a barrack commander. I kind of have a little bit of understanding of the law, but what you're doing is illegal. So you're going to get yourself in a lot of hot water if you're blocking a public conveyance. I don't know what authority you guys have vested, but I'm telling you right now that this is going to block it. If it's in the wrong law for water, you don't have to do it.
Chief Sperry, I'm recording this.
I don't care, thank you. Chief, I'm Dave Ryan, I'm a state police lieutenant. I'm just trying to figure out.
I got the attorney up. I'm trying to get it straightened out. I don't want to be involved in this. I'm trying to get it straightened out. I'm telling the attorney we shouldn't be doing this. Okay?
Thank you.
Not against you.
I appreciate it.
I'm doing what I was told to do.
Chief, you're being recorded.
I understand.
Okay.
I was in the car with you.
You can't ask who's in my car. You can't ask who's in my car. Okay, it's illegal.
Okay. They want to know who's coming on the island.
Doesn't matter. They don't get to know who's coming on the
Just
island.
want to identify who's coming on.
They don't get to identify them, Chief. Come on, you know that. You know better. You do.
They have their legal opinion, and
No, look.
they have it in writing that they have the right to know who's coming on off.
No, they don't. They don't. Not in my vehicle. They have no right to search a vehicle. They have no right to search a vehicle.
Searching the vehicle.
Okay.
They're identifying who's coming on.
They don't get to identify who's on. We know that. It's my property. I own more than he does.
I understand that. That's your property, but the roads are private. It's their roads to get there.
I own the roads. I own more of the road than that man sitting there.
Sit here and impede traffic. It's just not a good thing.
That's because you won't let me on. You have no right to search my vehicle. You have no right to ask me who's in the vehicle.
It's identifying people's coming on their private property. So
it's not their private property. It's my private property with them.
Right, so you're not going to back up.
I want to go on my property. I'm recording this, everyone.
We're waiting to hear. You have no permission to record my voice.
I'm absolutely recording you.
You have no permission. Is that clear?
I'm out in the public.
Is that clear?
He doesn't need permission. It's as long as
he needs my permission to record my voice.
If he's told you and he's in public, then no, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. It's in the law, sir. Listen, if you're here on official,
I'm not. I'm going.
You're authorized by the colonel.
Sir, I don't have to be authorized by the colonel to help a citizen. I don't need permission.
Well, we're the citizens that are protecting our rights.
Right. It's a civil violation, not a criminal violation. So the police have no jurisdiction over civil violations.
Please call our lawyers. The lawyers.
Sir, I'm trying to help this man get on his residence, and yes, I have every authority on this property as a Maryland State Trooper, and I'm not being employed by Mr. Lucy. He's not paying me right now. He's not paying me at all, nor has he ever paid me. Nor is he going to pay me, but as a citizen, he has the right to ask the law enforcement for help, and that's what I'm doing, sir.
I understand.
So,
I appreciate that. So here's the resolution. Have the colonel contact me.
Sir, no, that's not how this works. My colonel's not going to contact you.
This is private property, so we have rights to protect. So this is you're trying to protect his
He
rights.
owns a residence.
I own two residences here.
He owns this private property. You can't prohibit him from
I own
going
shares in the corporation.
He's not permitted to go onto his private property. He's not permitted to bring contractors without corporation approval.
Okay, he has a valid permit, correct?
He has a building permit, but that's not sufficient. That's necessary.
A building
but not
permit
sufficient.
isn't sufficient?
That's correct.
How's a building permit not sufficient?
That's why we provided a copy of the law to the state superintendent and also to Chief Altamira?
Chief Altamira.
Yeah. So we're not really the right ones because we're not lawyers.
Right.
So we're willing to let the chief of police, Superintendent Jones, make a determination.
The state police don't make determinations in civil matters. That's what you.
Neither do Anne Arundel County.
It's unambiguous to us. It's unambiguous to us.
Sir, you can't. Sir, you're breaking the law by prohibiting this man entering his residence. And the
then
law
show me
enforcement.
the law, please.
Sir, a man can go to his own house.
We agree.
Right. And he's got a permit. You can't block him. You file an injunction with a judge. A judge does that. You can't take your own volition and prohibit him from entering his residence, sir. You can't do it. And using the law enforcement to enforce that is illegal. And what I will do is file a formal complaint with licensing division that the law enforcement or the chief, no offense to the chief, but this is a civil violation and you're using law enforcement to enforce it.
Sir, I think this is a legal matter, and we're respectful of the law. We're going to abide by the law.
And go file an injunction, Jim.
File an injunction. That's what you do. And then the judge. So in the meantime, sir, you say, okay, this is how I've been harmed civilly, or the corporation's been harmed civilly, and you file an injunction, and the judge will look at your side and his side, and then he has a valid permit. He has property on it here. If it's a corporation, he owns part of it by living here. So you can't do it. And if you want to make this where the formal complaints are filed for law enforcement, he has civil rights that you're prohibiting him from exercising, and you're using law enforcement to prohibit his civil rights. And I'm not. Again, if you want, sir, this will end up in a big mess. You go to court. That's where civil matters are filed. Colonel Jones, myself, I have nothing to do. I don't enforce fines. I don't enforce civil matters, but I do enforce people's civil rights. And right now, his civil rights are being violated, and I will step in to prohibit that from happening.
Well, I will prohibit any contractors that he wants to bring to the gate from crossing the gate. Sir, he's permitted to enter. He has that permission. We all agree on that.
Sir, he can bring in anybody he wants. If he has a valid permit, he doesn't need your permission to be friends with somebody or bring a contractor in. He doesn't need your permission for that.
If you read the deeds and agreements.
Deeds and agreements you changed in 2004, Jim. You said you wouldn't discriminate. You're discriminating. That's what you're doing. The deeds and agreement are invalid. Okay? All the discrimination is invalid.
What I'm telling you is that his civil rights are being violated right now. Okay? You're prohibiting him from going on his own property.
We are not. He is permitted to
he has a valid permit. He can do construction work.
Let's just be clear. He is permitted to go on his own property.
Okay.
He is not permitted to bring contractors to do work without corporation approval. He has not sought.
It's interior work, Jim.
There's
nothing in the deeds that say I can't do interior work. It's interior work. You know that. Jim, do you want to bring the deeds out right now? It's interior work. In 1990, do you want me to read the deeds for you?
He has a legal right to be here. He has a legal permit. You can't block him or anyone that's coming on here to work based on an attorney's opinion.
We have rights. It doesn't hang on.
Those rights are not enforceable by law enforcement or by
This is a private island where our police have jurisdiction.
Right, and I have jurisdiction here as well.
Not on the public, not on private roads.
You're telling me that if you called the police and it's your house and I were to go inside your house, I wouldn't have any law enforcement jurisdiction?
No, sir.
That's not true.
No, I agree you're correct on that. But there is...
That's private property, someone's house, but I still have jurisdiction.
In what we sent, under the public safety article...
Sir, I know what my authority is.
I'm sure you do, but Mark, we've spent time over the weekend to get this right. So our understanding is that the state police do have authority to maintain the safe and orderly flow of traffic on public streets and highways. Emphasis on the word public. Further, we believe that state police have the duty to detect and prevent the commission of crime and maintain the safe and orderly flow of traffic on public streets and highways. These statutory duties do not extend to private property unless in furtherance of law enforcement objectives. That's our understanding.
Well, I assure you that I have jurisdiction, and I assure you that if there was any sort of incident on this island, that I would have the appropriate authority to take any sort of action that I deem necessary.
Sir, we would want that.
Absolutely, but we're all missing the point here. The point of the matter is this man has a permit. He file an injunction. And you can make documentation how many commercial motor vehicles are on this property. You can make documentation what is going on at the property. You can do all those things.
They can't trespass, but they can.
Right, but you can't block him. If he's allowing the employees to come on to work on the property, whether you feel it's commercial, he feels it's interior, those are all determinations by a judge to do, not by us as individuals. So the way I'm looking at it is do you normally stop the cars and ask who's in the vehicles with the people, whoever drives through? So if I'm a property owner on here...
No, we normally don't do that.
Right. Well, I mean, you're doing it in this case?
We are. Okay. So I will accept your order, sir. And if it's to step aside...
Well, yeah, you can't block them going to his house. Yeah.
Well, right, but we can block the contract.
They're my invitees. They're not felons. You're not allowed to block them.
If he's saying that they're his invitees, how do you stop that?
Because we have the right. Under the deeds and agreements that govern the island as a private piece of property, there are rules we all have to abide by.
Jim, what did you say in 2004? What did they record in 2004? They recorded that we abhor discrimination and we would not pursue anything that discriminates. You're discriminating. This is a county law, state law, and federal law. You cannot discriminate after 1988. You cannot discriminate against the disabled. And that's who you're discriminating against. You can't do it.
The less conflict everyone has, the better off everyone is. But in the essence of keeping, 4 police off, 5, 6
exactly.
During a pandemic, Jim.
Let it go.
Right, but this is all instigated by you.
No, Jim, you wouldn't sell me a lot in 2016. You violated the law then.
Instigation. You've created this
I have
problem.
not created any problem.
You have
You have lied and you have defamed me.